Bear and Breakfast is a management simulator with a unique story and interesting gameplay. How Long to Beat puts this game at 17 hours for main game completion, and so far I've played through around the first 4 hours of this. In this episode we'll be taking a look at my experience while playing and finishing off with my opinion on the game, things I loved and things I thought could have been done differently. Let's get into it. Throughout the game you play as the character Hank, a good-hearted, even if slightly dim-witted bear. I've cut it out to avoid spoilers, but the introduction was creepy. It also didn't, at least to me, make a lot of sense, but it appears to address itself later in the storyline. I've not been in this game for 5 minutes, and Mama Bear already thinks that she's my local GP. So thanks for that, Mum. Mum tells me to go and get the others, Will and Annie, to meet her outside. Hank and his friends talk about how they have been stopped from leaving here for a long time. Luckily for us, on this particular day, Mama Bear decides to allow the trio of animal children to venture outside the thicket for some alligator weed that she needs that can only be found in the ominously named black moss. And so, free as birds, we head off to the next area to collect said item. Once we get there, cheeky chappy Will decides that we are not to be held down by Mama Bear anymore, and that we should wander off and explore a tad deeper. Being the wet flannel that he is, Hank makes a weak attempt to deter him, and then just simply follows. As we emerge from the bushes into Timber Crossing, we see a robot shark. Who put it there? Why a shark? Why am I compelled to talk to it? Questions I'm not sure I'm ever going to see an answer to. The shark's got 2 buttons, a green one and a red one, which is easy enough. Press the green button and it starts to talk. The long and short of it is that this shark's dream in life is to get humans to visit the area again, because no humans have been seen in the area since the disaster. Therefore, we have been tasked with setting up you guessed it, a bed and breakfast. Except without the breakfast. Right now it's just bed, but we'll get there. Naturally, the 3 animal children have no idea how to build a building suitable for humans to inhabit. Luckily, just opposite the shark there is a derelict old shed, a passion project right in front of our eyes. All we need is someone who knows what a hammer and nail is. At this point, Will and Annie decide they've done their bit, and they'll just chill by the shed while I run off and do all the work. Cheers. I wander off in the dark to an area called Sawdust to pick up a mole called Tony, who's wearing a hard hat and a visibility jacket, so clearly he's a professional. I ask nicely, and he seems delighted to have the opportunity to show off his handy skills and help us with our task. All I need to do is collect some wood and planks. At this point, the open world survival craft instincts kicked in, and so I went around the place hoovering up any materials it would let me put in my Mary Poppins backpack. When I return to Timber Crossing, Tony is there chatting to Annie and Will and explains that the shed needs to be cleared of the rubbish that's in it before he can start working on it. Once again, neither of the other animal children are lifting a finger, so it's all on me. The shed's tidied up and the workbench made. Time for Tony to get to work. Once he's made the shed habitable again, I'm taught how to set up rooms for guests. The room building in this game is most comparable to 2 Point Hospital, Hospital Tycoon, whichever you prefer. You have an outer shell that can't be changed, bar the windows and door placement, but you can do basically whatever you want to on the inside. Rooms have requirements for certain things that they need inside them to be classed as that type of room, and then you can decorate it how you see fit. Each room is then given a rating based on the quality of items and decorations that it has inside it. Plop a desk down for people to sign in and out on, and the world's worst B&B is ready for customers. I let the shark know that the shed was good to go, but he told me that it looked awful. At this point, I don't need to tell you that Annie and Will are still sitting on their fingers, so off I go to find something to spruce up the place. And this is where I meet Took the beaver. Honestly, I'm not sure. Anyway, he tells me that if I find him a snack, then I can dive in his dumpster full of decor. So I wander off and meet a lovely human man called Oliver, who decided to stay and look after his precious bus stop, even when all the other humans left. I steal his sandwich anyway, and then give it to Took. Now with full access to view Took's dumpster whenever I fancy, I paid him with the bits of rubbish I had found around town to take some of these decorations off his paws and put them in my shed. While I was at the dumpster, Took let me know that if I wanted to attract some more humans in the area, I should do up the old tourist kiosk, as that used to be a hotspot back in the day. Say no more, Took, I'm on it. Tony tells me that in order to get the kiosk back in tip-top condition, we need a map of the area and a computer. He sends me off to speak to Oliver about the map. Let's just hope Oliver hasn't noticed a sandwich is missing. Turns out Oliver and a girl called Sabine had worked on an atlas together of the area. Wonderful. He's got one part and sends me off to get the rest from her in sawdust. I leave, but not before stealing Oliver's pen. I'm not sure how many years in hell I've racked up at this point, but it must be a few. Despite me stealing Oliver's belongings, he's decided to allow me to rebuild his bus stops and will ferry me around town for free, as long as there's a bus stop in the area. I return to Tony with the requested items and he gets down to business. At this point, I'm on day 3, and throughout all these odd jobs, I've been thinking, why has no one mentioned Mama Bear? At one point, when I had to go back to the thicket for supplies, I even ran into her, but all she did was give me pocket money. I assumed this was an oversight in the story, but no. After we complete all the building required to get the humans into our little shed, Annie finally mentions Mama Bear, and off we go to get a scolding. We're sent to our room, and the big boss of the Rat Mafia is sitting there. He's heard about our adventures from Took, and he's interested in helping us expand. This is where we are directed to open up the next area, the A24. From this point onward, the gameplay loop is as follows. Get introduced to a new area, speak to the locals and complete any quests they have, speak to the robot shark of the area and turn the building you are told to into a B&B. Each time you complete a quest for the shark, he'll give you a new one. Once you complete all the shark's quests, you are then given a talking road sign. Don't ask. It gives you goals to guide you into upgrading your B&B in each area. The more tasks you complete for the road sign, the more customers are willing to spend. However, with this upgrading pricing usually comes customers who are more picky, require better decor, and sometimes special amenities. When you've done enough in the area, you'll be directed to the next area, and so forth. There were 2 main similarities that popped into my head while playing Bear and Breakfast. The first is the graphical style. It immediately resonated with me as a Don't Starve-esque style with a brighter colour palette. In my opinion, the graphical style works well and allows the designers to create those more spooky areas that they wanted to while keeping vibrant colours throughout. The core gameplay loop definitely draws inspiration from, as the previously mentioned, 2 Point Hospital, Hospital Tycoon, etc. This might leave a little to be desired for people who prefer to be in full control of their designs, as in the time I've played there doesn't seem to be a way to change the way the outside or inside flooring and walls look. It's not just the building either. Similarly to the previously mentioned games, it appears each sort of area you unlock is the same as a level, and each level comes with customers that have extra requirements. The first area all your customers want is a bed. By the second level they need access to a bathroom, and then by the time I got to the third level they also wanted to be able to have food. Of course, the more requirements a customer has, the more they're willing to pay. Let me start off by saying I had a good time with this game. In the 4 hours I played it, I was closing the game because I needed to, not because I was done playing. I like the fact that the game has a unique storyline. Most games of this type are simply, you've been given a place to set up as X and do it. I really appreciated that there was more to it than that. All of the interactable NPCs seem well fleshed out, each with their own unique personality, way of talking to you, relationship with you. It made interacting with characters feel worthwhile, and I found myself talking to NPCs when I walked past them just to see what they had to say. Another thing I enjoyed was that rather than just simply being able to buy all the items to make a room, you get to scavenge for materials and then craft them. It feels realistic to the scenario you find yourself in, or at least as realistic as you can make that. The sound design in this game is great. It really made me feel uneasy in certain areas from the eerie music and the noises coming from darker areas. The way you hear little sounds as you get close to certain items, like the buzzing of electricity when you walk under a lamppost. It really does add immersion in such a fantastic way. I also definitely had that sense of not realising how much time had passed when I'd been playing, despite the fact that I kept stopping to take notes, and I think that's always the hallmark of a decent game. I fully intend to continue playing this once I've finished recording. There was also a couple of smaller details which just really made me smile. For example, in one of the bedrooms at Mama Bear's house there's a guitar, and if you walk into it, it plays a little note. Also, when the game first started and I got my first customers, whenever they saw me they would run away with like a sad moodlet above their head. It turns out it was because I didn't have any bottoms on. Once I put a pair of shorts on, they started smiling at me, and I thought that was an excellent touch. Throughout my time playing, there were some things that crossed my mind that I wished were different. These by no means anything that put me off playing the game entirely, but they were bothersome enough to come to my attention. I will preface this by saying that I definitely could have missed something, so if you think I've critiqued anything wrongly, do let me know in the comments. After I had built up the shed and had a customer, the first time I was really left to my own devices was after the robot shark gave me the quest to raise my prestige. I let the shark know that the shed was good to go, but he told me that it looked awful. Now, I knew I needed decoration to raise my prestige, but at this point I didn't know how to obtain them. Eventually I just started to wander around the map collecting materials, and then I bumped into Took and started his quest to unlock the garbage dumpster and the decorations. While the map isn't very big, and I would have found it in the end, and obviously did, I still would have preferred it if it had have just nudged me in the right direction. I personally couldn't find a way to see the time while I was playing without going into a menu. I'd have preferred it to have been something that I could just glance over to. There didn't seem to be any way to zoom in and out of the area map, and looking around that felt quite clunky. At the second B&B, you have two requirements for guests: a bedroom and a bathroom. As the game was taking me through the tutorial for this new area, it required me to book a guest into the hotel, which meant when the guest came, he was unhappy. It didn't affect my gameplay in any way that I could tell, but I definitely would have preferred the option to have held off on booking a guest until I was ready. As far as I can tell, there isn't any way you can sell materials or crafted items to. All you can do is recycle the crafted goods. I'd have liked somewhere to have been able to have sold some bits so that I could get some extra money for rooms in the beginning, or I didn't have too much money coming in. Throughout my time playing, there were multiple instances where I started building a room. I put down where I wanted the walls and the doors and windows, and then realised I'd forgot to make the bed. Unfortunately, when you click over to the crafting section to make these items, it forces you to abandon the work you've done so far to build the room, and then rebuild it once you finish crafting. In my opinion, I should have been able to leave the room there, then finish it off once I had finished crafting, and only have to abandon it if I chose to actually leave the building mode entirely. I couldn't find any way to speed up time, so on days where I simply needed to wait for customers to be completed so that I had money to build another room, I had no choice but to simply wander around picking up trash until it was midnight and I could sleep. All of the 5-star reviews have the same text, and then all of the 4-star reviews have the same text. I don't expect every single review to say something different, but it would have been a nice touch if there was a few different options that they cycled through. One thing that really did bother me was that there was no option to either rotate the camera or make objects see-through or invisible while you were building. So when I had tool items like a large painting or a wardrobe in a room, I would need to put those in my inventory while I worked on the room behind it and then place them back, and that was quite annoying. And while I do like the concept of having various items to decorate rooms with in order to boost each room's decoration score, I did find myself simply cramming rooms with random items that gave the most decoration bonus, rather than choosing stuff that I thought looked good in the rooms, and this for me limited how creative I could be with decorating. It might have felt like I had a lot to say negatively about this game, but as you can see, most of these are quite minor details. At no point during play did I encounter any bugs that I noticed, and certainly no game-breaking bugs were present. The overall feel of the game was brilliant, and these are mainly just quality of life improvements that I felt the game could benefit from. I had a really fun time, especially with the characters, as both the storyline and character development are wonderfully made, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing this game and seeing where the story goes next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you come to visit me in the cabin again soon.